Sausage.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Marcus Nez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Star Wars Episode 1, Jedi Power Battles. That's the name of this dumbass game, right? Yeah. Star Wars, Episode 1, Jedi Power Battles. So good you had to put 2 colons in it. Double the colon, fun. It's not actually a stupid ass game. I was a bit negative right there. Dismissive sounding. It's not a great game. I am playing, or I did play, the remastered version from Aspire, right? It is Aspire that put this out, like always. I feel like I know it's the same studio I'm thinking of. I just want to make sure it is Aspire. It's not Askire. Askire. No, it's Aspire. It's Aspire. It's Aspire. You're probably saying, you should have been more professional and done this research before recording this episode. I just woke up like 5 minutes ago. Splashed some water on my face, and here we are. So, I'm as unprofessional as they get. But I got the remastered version. I got a code for it. And I've been curious about this game. I've been curious about a lot of Star Wars things from the past, especially with my rewatch of all Star Wars content in 2025, the year that this is. And this will be out in 2025, much later than when I'm actually recording it. But I had no idea what kind of game this was. All I knew is that it was an oldie, as to be expected, and some people were quite fond of it. When I started playing it, I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that if you are unaware, like I was, Jedi Power Battles is kind of like a 3D beat 'em up. I would compare it more so, and I realized this after playing a bit of it, it's very similar to something like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but on a smaller scale, or more closely, to me at least, it feels very similar to Gauntlet Dark Legacy, which is the arcade Gauntlet, the 3D arcade Gauntlet game that I at least adored. I think it eventually came to consoles. I wish it would have come to Xbox Live Arcade and PSN back in the day, but I think it was maybe on the original Xbox they released support of it. I don't know exactly, but I adored that arcade game. I love Dark Legacy. And this feels very similar to that, which I wasn't expecting. I thought maybe this would be an arena fighter thing where you're taking on hordes of enemies or something along those lines. But you're going through these somewhat long linear levels that don't really have branching paths, but they might have little areas that can go and get a little secret collectible or something, and then move forward, continue moving forward down the linear path that you are on. And in some of the levels too, they're more open where you have to do a specific task, like save 7 princesses or something along those lines before reaching the end of it. And if you don't do that, you'll fail, which I learned the hard way because I was just following path. I was like, whatever. I don't have to. That's like a bonus, right? To save these 7. I wasn't paying attention that well. But I was pleasantly surprised to find out that that is the kind of game Jedi Power Battles is. And then I was pretty immediately disappointed because it is a PlayStation 1 game. So this is a PS1 game that's been essentially ported. This, like many Aspire ports, are about as little, they do about as little updating, upgrading as you can with these games, which, again, I've talked about this in the past. I appreciate having these games available on modern platforms in an easy way to play. That is great. Preservation, I will always be a fan of that. However, it would be nice if there are some things that they add to make it a bit more accessible, to make it a bit better, get rid of some of these bugs. And as someone who's never played the original, I can't say whether or not these bugs that are there are part of the original version or this new remastered version. For instance, I had a few cases where I would get stuck on some part of the geometry. I tried to jump over a rail and I'd get stuck in the air, and my character, I played as Obi-Wan during the game. There are a dozen maybe or less characters to pick from at the very start. You have Obi-Wan. I always forget. I'm going to screw up. I'm not even saying Liam Neeson's name because I already forgot. I was told how you pronounce it, and I forgot. I forget it. I'm sorry, Jedi. But you have some typical ones, and as well as Darth Maul you can play as, and a droid. I don't know why you want to just play as a random battle. Not even battle droid. The one that goes. What did I say? They're the grunts of the Star Wars universe. But I know that they added at the very least, Jar Jar Binks as a Jedi to this game. Not sure how you unlock them, but there might be some more unlockable ones. I would assume there are. But there were times where the character I was playing as, we would stuck on geometry, just kind of hanging there for 3 seconds or so, and then they would die, and I'd have to go back to the checkpoint, which is a little frustrating in this game compared to a beat 'em up, say, where you have a certain number of lives to get through a level. In Jedi Power Battles, you have that same case, that same thing where you have a certain number of lives to get through a level, and as you're playing through the campaign, you're losing them, and that carries over from level to level to level, which is a weird thing because I'll get to why that's weird. But when you die, you return back to the checkpoint, which is a little thing you pick up essentially in the world, and everything's reset. So instead of respawning where you just died, you're respawned back at the checkpoint as if everything you've done since that checkpoint never happened, and you have to redo everything, re-pick up collectibles, re-kill every enemy, so on and so forth. And that's a bit of an annoying design choice. And what's weird about the lives carrying over from level to level as you're playing through the game, it just progresses like it's all one continuous thing, is that, and this may be something new for the remastered version, but you can play any level you want in any order. They're all unlocked from the very start, and you're not forced to play it in a linear fashion. So there are 14 levels in total. I think the first 10 are the story, and then 11 through 14 are just more challenge-based things. I did not beat the game. I played maybe around 10 total levels, a little less, because I started a game on Jedi difficulty, and then I went over to easy difficulty because I was like, well, I don't care. This is a little frustrating. This is a bit dated and not super fun. But then I realized easy mode didn't seem that much easier. And at first, it seemed like baby mode because the game bugged out on me for a bit where I was taking no damage and had no force limitations. The health bar and the force bar were gone. Your force powers are pretty limited at the start. And one of the weird things, or interesting things too, is that this being a PlayStation 1 game, there is no tutorial that teaches you anything about the controls or anything about how anything in the game works. And what's interesting thinking about that is the fact that, yeah, that makes sense for games of this age to not bother with that because they all, unless you got them used or something like that, they all came with manuals that taught you how the game played and what you would need to do and so on. And these days, even if you still buy physical, you don't get that. So it's on the game itself to teach you the controls and all that because there's no other way. I mean, you can go on YouTube and you can do stuff like that, but in terms of you and your purchase, you're not getting anything that's teaching you. So the game has to do it, which is an interesting thing to think about that I never really considered. But the game itself, for a PS1 era game, looks all right. I don't mind the visual styling, especially since I grew up with the PS1. I have nostalgia for that era. I loved my PS1. And the game itself, so I don't think it's a great game. In part because this is just a port, so they didn't do anything to try and improve any aspect of it. It can be frustrating. It throws so many, the vast majority of enemies are ranged enemies who will fire at you from a distance. And when you're a Jedi with the lightsaber, it's kind of annoying. You can parry back shots at enemies if you time it right. The timing window's pretty generous for that. But it's still frustrating in this beat 'em up style, Gauntlet style type of game to be a close ranged fighter dealing with mostly ranged enemies. It's very, very frustrating. I would not have done that. And the combat itself doesn't feel that great. The combat's all right, gameplay wise, but then you have platforming sections and platforming bits that feel very bad. Those are very janky-ish, not the best. And you can play it cooperatively, I believe. I don't know if it has online in this new version, but the frustrating thing to me is that I look at this game and the style of game it is after playing it and realizing that it's this beat 'em up Gauntlet-esque type game, and I couldn't help but think, this is such a great idea for a game. I can see why this would have been popular, why there are people who remember this fondly, even if it might be a bit janky, because it's just a perfect idea for a Star Wars game. I would love to see this redone, whether it be a remake, an expanded remake of Jedi Power Battles, where they remove the episode 1 from it, and it's just Star Wars Jedi Power Battles, and it follows either all 9 mainline movies or the prequel trilogy, and then you release an expansion DLC that's the original trilogy, and then the neutral. Like, to me, this style of game would be so much fun if done really well in the Star Wars universe. And you have so many characters. Like, just think, if you remember the game, I mean, I guess there was a recent one on Switch only, which is still weird. But think Marvel Ultimate Alliance, just all of Star Wars and all the characters they could give you. It could be really, really cool. But I don't know if we'll ever get that. Probably not. I don't think we're going to get a Jedi Power Battles 2 or just Jedi Power Battles without the episode 1 moniker. But this game itself is just kind of okay. It has good ideas that were not executed super well back in the day, and this new version doesn't do anything to fix any of the issues and maybe introduces more. Like I said, those bugs could be a thing there. There are some fun things too, that when you complete a level, you unlock things depending on what how well you did, how many points you get. So you'll be able to increase your max force or max health on a character. You'll unlock a special ability, a new combo, or a new ability from level to level to level. Like I said, you can jump between any levels as you want, redo them. You can't change the difficulty on a save file. If you want to go down to easy or up to Jedi, and you've committed to quite a bit of playtime during with a character or anything, you have to just throw that all away, and you level up. All that, yeah, it's all right. I was surprised by the concept of the game, the idea of the game, and I just wish it was better, because I really was taken aback by how much I thought the idea after playing the game, after starting it, was like, oh man, this could be great. And sadly, Jedi Power Battles is not great. Great idea, not so great game, not so great execution. Another thing of note to end this with is that it has, as you'd expect, being episode 1, Duel of the Fates in it. However, before you actually get to the final fight, because the last level, mainline level, is fighting against Darth Maul, it implements Duel of Fates in various levels in a very teasing way, where it will do that opening bit of Duel of Fates, da, da, da. And of course, if you know the song, you're expecting after that, you're expecting it to go there. But then in this fucking game, it'll do that opening bit, and then it'll just transition to some fucking song that is maybe still from Star Wars, but it's not Duel of Fates. I'm like, you can't do that. One, don't use that in non-big, super big heightened moments. You should have just saved that for the fight with Darth Maul, or for the other time Darth Maul shows up in an earlier level. Don't just do that when I'm platforming up a mountain. Just so you start playing, da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, what are we doing here? Why are we treating the greatest Star Wars song of all time with such... no. That's the worst thing. And also, another worst thing is these fucking stupid uppercutting bastards in, I forget what it was, like the outside palace. There was these stupid green buddies who were just uppercutting me off of platforms all the time. It's driving me nuts. But, yeah, that is Jedi Power Battles, Star Wars, Episode 1, Jedi Power Battles, to be more accurate. Yeah. Great idea. Not so greatly executed, but maybe worth checking out if you're a big Star Wars fan. It is of those older games ported. One of the ones I was able to play more of and enjoy more of compared to something like Bounty Hunter, that I feel like is not like the inherent concept of Power Battles spoke to me more and felt better because it wasn't trying to do something too much. I think Bounty Hunter is trying to be more, and therefore it fell greater. Yeah, that'll do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get maxes. You can get access to a monthly Q&A, the occasional watch party, some fancy Discord roles, a private Discord channel, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there, depending on your tier. Or you can just support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, the Twitch, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. So that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye bye. It's go time. Go daddy. It's go time. Go daddy. It's go time. Go daddy.